and welcome to our first episode of our FTGU Academy podcast. Title is still pending. We're trying to figure things out. Since this is our first episode, I got two of my fine colleagues here from the FTGU Academy. We got Tyler here on the right-hand side. We got Nikki here on the left-hand side, and we're going to have a fantastic podcast. So
I'm really excited about this.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about this podcast.
Yeah, I got to put my money where my mouth is because I tell everyone to shoot videos. So it's like I got to probably be in front of the camera every once in a while. So, hey.
Yeah. So we're actually doing what we tell you guys to do, and we're hoping that with our future episodes, we bring you guys some value, something to laugh at, and something to grow with. So I hope you guys stick through and enjoy what we're going to talk about today. Since this is our first one, let's start with a little bit of background information. I think with our first episode, since we deal with real estate coaching, how did we get into real estate? So, Ty, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I've been in real estate now for coming up to 10 years. And my story started in real estate with serving gentlemen downstairs. I worked at the Jack Astor's downstairs here, and I served Jazz, Simeon, and Simon, who own an organization called REC Canada. And I'm not sure what I said. It was a few years ago, so I don't remember. I must have done a good enough job because they asked me to come upstairs after my shift. And I've never been approached that way before. And I was like,
But you're like worried for like a quick second. You're like, what is going to happen?
I didn't know like what the conversation even entailed. Simeon was just like, Tyler, come upstairs after. You didn't even say Tyler, I don't think. Come upstairs after. We have an interesting conversation. And I just Googled who they were after they left, and I was
these real people.
And it's funny how things work because I was in the middle of getting my license. I wasn't speaking to them about real estate, but I was in the middle of getting my license. I remember on my phone I had a for sale for sale image, and I had the conversation. I went upstairs, and they were looking for an assistant at the time. So I became their assistant. I took a little bit of I took a loss of income for sure, transitioning, because with serving you get a lot of disposable income.
Tips and all that.
Yeah, and it's cash in hand at the end of the night.
Yeah.
And that's very powerful, especially when I'm in my early 20s. Yeah. But I wanted to do this, and I decided, okay, let me go all in. So I took a little bit less money, obviously being an admin at the time, but I got to learn a lot, and that was really interesting. I was very fortunate to be in a room with very forward-thinking gentlemen because, like Jazz, Simeon, Simon, they didn't have me just run around and pick up checks, drop off deposits, and just do paperwork like agreements of purchase and sales and buyer agencies, all that. Instead, I had to make 50 outbound calls every single day before I got to do the assistant work. And it just meant my plate was jam-packed. And I actually still to this day don't think I have as much work now than I did back in the day. My checklist and my notepad was full every single day, just crossing stuff off. But it got me able to learn real estate, learn how to speak with realtors, learn how to speak with buyers, sellers, investors. And then naturally I got my license. I became a buyer agent. I helped investors, and I then started my own chapter with REC Canada, and I opened up the real estate concierge division as well as the portfolio management division with the team.
There you go. And that was what now, 10 years running?
10 years, and I've been doing the portfolio management division now for almost now 3.5 years.
There you go.
Yeah, it's been a wild journey. I think sometimes we do have to put our head down as sales professionals. You don't know where that's going to pay out in the long run. But be true to yourself, and also always think about the client or the person you're speaking to. What is it they should get out of the conversation? What is it that they want? And always try to, sort, never convince there. And it's paid out in a big amounts in regards to passion, in regards to purpose, and also just the responsibilities, which is great. It's always growing, and we're always evolving.
Yeah, I love
it's a
that.
good story.
Yeah. What about you, Nick? How did you get into real estate?
Well, so how far back do I go? Because there's a lead up to getting into real estate.
Let's start there.
Go way back.
Go way back.
So I was a personal trainer from 2015 to 2020, February. And throughout that time, I had always had an interest in cameras and like just being creative in different capacities. And then eventually through all that, became a marketing manager for the gym I was working at and handled, all their content and all their sales funnels and a bunch of different things. And then obviously in 2020 with COVID, the fitness industry was one of those industries that absolutely got demolished. And I had left actually a month prior to COVID happening and was actually looking for full-time creative jobs at the time. And then COVID happened. All my job prospects that I had at the time just dissolved. Every single one of them dissolved completely. And did a couple odd jobs throughout that sort of summer in COVID. Lived a little bit off CERB too, not gonna lie. And then in October of 2020, I saw an Indeed posting for some guy named Jazz Tackar. I had no idea who Jazz was at the time. I just saw like creative job, full-time. I was like, all right, let me throw a resume out there.
Yeah.
At that point, I was applying to like 20, 30 jobs a day just to find something solid. And then shout out to Steven Rochester.
Shout out.
Got to give him that because in October, got a call from him and he's like, hey, saw your resume, saw your website, saw your Instagram, all look pretty cool. Basically, I want to hire you. So give me a couple days while I sort through some other stuff and we'll get back to you. He didn't get back to me. So I called him.
So you followed up.
So I followed up. It's all in the follow-up. And yeah, I got a hold of him on Sunday night, and he was like, yeah, do you want to start Wednesday?
Yeah, love that.
And yeah, started Wednesday, came into the office, met Jazz and Laura, fell in love. We all got along great. And then over the years, just had, started as Jazz's personal videographer / kind of working with REC Canada. And then from there, it evolved into us starting a media company where I kind of led the team through that venture. And then we pivoted to the education company where I then became the coach for the content division. And I now lead that today.
Which I find just from hearing your conversations with some of our immersioners, I find when you speak about content and getting in front of the camera, that's a little bit more of a difficult conversation than what I have with some of our immersioners, which is how to convert people to buy, sell, and invest.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is they have more motivation to be a bit more excited about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because there is a bit more of an immediate hit from gratification.
It's lower hanging fruit.
Lower hanging fruit. If a deal closes, they're obviously happy because they just made money. Whereas content is the complete opposite. It's a slow grind. It's a painful grind at times, and it doesn't always see a direct impact into your income right away. But we have great examples of how it actually can change your business from a long-term perspective. Like example REC Canada, Jazz and Laura.
Well, even for me,
Tyler
like
too.
small window. Like I really just started producing content this year.
Yeah.
And my main focus is to stay consistent, which I'm very proud of myself for doing so at this point, and focus on real estate investment education. That's my two main points. But since I've been posting and producing content, I've found enjoyment and I really like it. I like this, and I'm so happy that we're doing this. Any chance for me to get in front of a camera,
Tyler loves it. Yeah.
But also from this, I've been able to do stage talks with investors. I've been hosting events and just getting more comfortable with just doing it myself. And it's I also think the part for me that was the hardest, and you helped me film this one, Nick, was when I spoke about my vulnerabilities in why I didn't brand myself as that real estate investment specialist beforehand, because at that point I've already been doing it for 9 years, but I've just been servicing REC insiders, which that's what I do. But I felt like at the time I wasn't the right person to be speaking to my inner circle. But Nick helped me produce that content. That was the hardest one, I think, to this day that I've had to do. Mm-hmm. It's the only one where we've had to do more than 2 or 3 takes, right?
Yeah, actually,
we had to do 7
again,
takes.
It's because sometimes it's hard to get it out, but clearly it was worth it.
Yeah, it was worth it for sure.
Miss Tilly.
So me,
You've been napping a lot.
let's do a little backtrack like you did, Nick, coming back up to how I got into real estate. So, my first big girl job. So funny because I actually started bartending. Similar story to you, Ty. So I bartended all throughout college and university, and when and of course you meet a whole wide variety of entrepreneurs and workers and just people from different industries. So not only are you a kind of still working sales, if you think about it, you bartend, you're working sales, networking.
If you think about it, you as a bartender and server, I think that's why it's so transferable to be into sales if you've worked in bars and restaurants, you're always asking open-ended questions. You're
Yeah.
always trying to engage a little bit with them.
And you're working with people. Like
Yeah.
you're servicing people
Yeah.
in just a different capacity.
And from a relationship-based perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people come to a bar, obviously because they have good drinks and good food, but
Yeah.
a big part of why people go to places on a regular basis is because of the people who serve them
Yeah.
on a regular basis.
And that's how you become like regulars,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
then, you know, you get really excited, you have
The
that
tips get
rapport, the tips do get better. And so, oh yeah, definitely moving from like bartending to like a corporate setting. Oh,
It's a huge
that
shock.
first paycheck, I remember I cried so hard. I'm like, I called my dad, I'm like, they took half. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, they taxed half. And he's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, I don't like this at all. Like, how dare they? And so it's like, I was in sales. I was working in the tax and accounting industry. And, you know, we know sales is like, there's no, what was it? No proverbial ceiling. There's no glass ceiling. Like the sky's the limit,
Yeah.
right? Like you can make a,
The ceiling is the
Boom.
only one you put above you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can make a boatload of money. But the issue is it's like that just wasn't me in the sense of like, you know, having a quota and like trying to like sell products. What ended up happening was I loved helping people like just by asking questions and figuring out what pain points were
Yeah.
and then like helping them use the product. And I got in so much trouble. They're like, you're supposed to sell, stop training. I'm like, is training an option? I'm like, can I educate people? And so I literally moved from sales into training. And, you know, I kind of moved up the corporate ladder and I realized like, no, I love educating. I love coaching. I love teaching because like that turned into sales just because I was asking questions.
Yeah.
So when it was time to potentially change, you know, because you've been doing something for 5-6 years, you're like, do I want to stay here? Do I want to move forward? And then actually a recruiter reached out for Royal LePage head office just down the street here on Winford. And they said, we're looking for a traveling professional coach. We need someone to work with all of our agents. And so that's how I got into real estate because someone headhunted me. And by far, my goodness, did I reap the rewards. I got to travel across Canada. I got to meet many, many wonderful people, many beautiful brokerages. Someone paid me to travel across Canada. And then they fed me too. So it's like, that was something that I definitely was happy to have part of like my repertoire, my CV. And then of course COVID hits. So I had like one full season and you know, things changed, but I had the opportunity to take, like you said, all of those transferable skills and show up in real estate. And then I realized I'm like, oh, these are really my people here. Like we're not only just dealing with, you know, finances, but like lifestyles, right? So.
And it's interesting on the education side, because it's always evolving. So
Always.
it's not like you know the answer to it and then now you're just gonna speak about that for 20 years.
No, my gosh.
You're always trying to see where the market is shifting, what technology is expanding, what restrictions or regulations are coming in. So now we have to switch the way we present things.
Yeah, compliance.
All of that. And it's interesting too, as I would imagine as someone just helping with training, is that okay, now I get to go play by different rules, and now I get to see how I can train people in these different, you know, outcomes or circumstances.
Oh, 100%. And like one thing, and definitely COVID really brought this to the surface. How fast can you pivot?
Yeah.
How
so
fast
true.
can you pivot
true.
in regards to like technology?
So
Oh
actually,
my gosh, you guys
I
remember
have a funny
Zoom?
story about not necessarily technology based, but I had to make a pivot because obviously, you know, people were like everyone was pretty tight financially in different ways during COVID, and I needed a job in any capacity. As you know, going back to that story, and so I ended up finding something on Indeed or something like that for a on YouTube host. So I was actually a host of a YouTube channel for a Korean supplements company for 3 months during COVID. Big shout out to
Roll the clip.
Nutridom. Big shout out to Nutridom for having me on their YouTube channel for 3 months. And every week I'd just come in with my counterpart and we'd film a video, edit it, and do a little bit of the social media stuff behind it. But it's so funny with the pivot part because it's like
that's so good.
It was an interesting experience. The people there were amazing, top notch, amazing human beings to work with. But again, like, had you asked me in like February that year if I'd be shooting YouTube videos on camera, hosting, talking about supplements for a Korean-based supplements company, I would have told you you're insane.
Yeah.
So the pivot part is
You gotta
so
be
true.
open to
You gotta be
it.
open to
You gotta be open
opportunities
to
and
it.
stuff.
Yo.
Right.
There's a reason why it's coming to you.
Yeah.
There's a reason why it's presented
Yeah.
to you, and you gotta take it or not.
Survival of the fittest, in the sense of like, again, can you take what's coming to you? How do you make it your own and put it back out into the world?
Are you guys finding that people you're speaking to on Google Meet or on Zoom are starting to get sick of that platform and that medium?
Oh God, like 2021, everyone was sick of Zoom.
I think I'm in a bit of a unique perspective because like it's content, so it's like cameras and stuff. So I personally don't mind. And I find when I have the meetings with people, they seem to be okay with it. Like it's always like the first thing they want to do is Zoom versus a phone call actually. So I don't know if that's just like a weird coincidence, but
So on the REC side, we do a program called the Real Estate Action Plan, as you both know.
Yeah.
But for everyone watching, might not know.
yeah, hit Tyler up if you want one.
It's a one-on-one conversation that we have with our insiders, as we call it, our database, our leads, where we try to build them this plan. And we want to do it virtually on Google Meet. And I found this year our show rate is a lot lower than it was last year. And it might be the way that we're speaking about it. We are booking a lot more, so we're doing a lot more of a catch-all. So that could be another byproduct. But I think it's also because people see the email that you have a meeting now. They work at like Deloitte or they work at
Another
a
Zoom meeting,
bank
great.
where they're like, I literally just had 7 of these and they're all pointless. So I do it old school now. I'll just go book speak to them there and try to get them in the office or to a showing.
100%.
And it's right now, especially with the market, we all have time as realtors to show some properties even before the buyer's pre-approved.
And make content.
We
No.
do. The realtor's job has now shifted because of the current state of the market.
Absolutely.
The values have shifted. What we have to do to show them that this could be the right opportunity and show them, there is some trust in working with a realtor or some value in working with a realtor. All of that needs to now be amplified, I believe.
And best way to do that, content creation.
Content
Oh,
creation.
One of the best
like what
tools you
we're
can
doing
have
right
now.
now.
I think
It's
it is.
like, there's a lot of people tend to, in the real estate space as a general, a lot of people just tend to put the buy, sold, and leases up on their page, and it's like,
Yeah.
A, no one cares. Like it might be cool to look at the picture and look at the price and then they move on, but at the end of the day, people connect with brands through people, not through logos.
And it's like seeing like the personal side of things. And like Ty, we were talking about this just earlier that so obviously when we post our content on FTGU or through our respective personal pages, not only are like we talking about different types of pillars, like we have our education pillar, we also have our entertainment pillar. I have had so much fun filming how to fail as an entrepreneur and how to fail as a realtor. Because sometimes you just have to laugh because, of course, you find the funny in this. Like you find yourself in the funny. So, as we're testing out different things, some of the content that we found that did the best was when we were just a little bit silly or a little
Absolutely.
bit vulnerable,
100%.
a little bit
Absolutely.
honest. Because it's like, of course, we have our recordings from like our podcast, our events where we're like, professional,
whatnot.
business, Mrs. Business over here.
Yeah.
But some clients expect that. And that's the thing, because we have to, cater to everybody. As much as I love our entertainment content, that's to make you laugh, but is it providing value?
Yeah.
Right? And then we
Yeah.
have to provide that value segment.
I think it's to make people laugh for sure and engage, but it's also to show the environment that we have, right? And
You
that's
bring
important.
them with the entertainment, but you keep them with the value.
100%.
Yeah,
That's
and I
smart.
think for anyone who's watching this, and they want a good example of that. Someone that we've all worked with, whether it's in the academy or different places, is Tristan Clunas. Great guy, but he does such a good balance of humor, personality,
he's so
lifestyle, and education. So if you're looking for inspiration and kind of want to see what someone who's been quite successful on social media in the real estate space looks like, is give them a search on Instagram and check them out.
And it keeps it fresh, like so you want to do it. It keeps it fun.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And but also coming back to what you were mentioning earlier with your own content journey, it's like that consistency. And it sucks because it's so hard. It is so hard to stay consistent with like not only thinking of like topics, but like actually shooting it and like putting it out there. And I know, and we all know because we all work with our coaching academy members, that's one of the biggest pain points is like, I want to do more content. I want to be more on like YouTube and the TikToks, but like, what do I do? And even if it's systems, it's figuring out your topics, but even if you have everything lined
it's also
up.
sucking it up.
Yes.
Just gonna throw that out there.
100%. Because like even if you have everything lined up, it's like you have to take that first. You have to step, because if you're just talking, you're just talking shit out of your ass, and you're saying I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, X, Y, Z. You got to put, what was it? Foot to ass. You got to get going.
And
I'm not familiar with that one, but I believe you on that.
And I also think it's to not spend as much time in your day thinking about it. Just do it.
It's paralysis or analysis by paralysis. Just look, how many times have I already fumbled on this podcast here? We're gonna keep running, keep rolling, keep
talking
going.
over each other, this or that or whatever. Like nothing's perfect.
No.
And no one cares.
No one cares.
That's just a big one too.
I honestly spend 15 minutes a day on content. I don't. I will not spend more time than that. If it spends more time than that, then I'll just shelf it and do it tomorrow.
Like if I'm helping Tyler with a video on his phone quickly because we had an idea that popped in our head, we'll do 3 takes and it's like, all right, well, one of these are good, so just figure it out.
Yeah. And they're all a minute. So that's like 4.5 minutes, call it, of filming, 2 minutes, 3 minutes of us talking about the idea. And then, definitely this is a great time with the growth of AI to also leverage the tools that are out there, because 100%. In a few years, I believe, it can go 2 ways, but I believe it's going to go one way, which is that there's going to be only a few groups that are going to be releasing and giving us access to AI platforms, and it's going to be a lot more expensive. Okay. Right now,
but a lot more valuable too.
A lot more valuable, a lot more bells and whistles, but also a lot more expensive, which means that the everyday person might not have the ability to really get in and try it. But right now, we don't have that. We don't have that restriction. It's all pretty cheap.
None of it's
so
perfect.
Many options.
None of it's perfect. There's like, if someone who's navigated a lot of these AI platforms, none of them are perfect, but they are great tools to make things easier, whether it's ChatGPT or Opus Clips or Captions AI or
Gemini or whatever.
Or any one of these AI platforms that either help you with text prompts or video editing or clipping or whatever it may be. And I think it's a cool example of that is actually like there's a large group of like 16 to 20-year-olds in the States who they literally just download podcasts and Twitch streamers and they run it through AI and they post clips to TikTok. And some of these kids are literally netting like 60,000 a month.
Yeah.
US.
And then you kind of like scratch your head. You're like, wait.
And they're not even the ones on the camera. They're just taking stuff, running it through AI and posting it.
And then they're trying to find trends in music.
Trends in music, trends in the clips.
Yeah.
Whatever else is going on. So
caption colors. Ways that it's shaking or transitioning.
Yeah. Having Minecraft video underneath or whatever. You know what I'm talking
about.
Oh yeah, no, but it's always so funny because it's like
it does.
Right, and it's just like sometimes you watch it and you're like, what am I watching?
Or like someone like cutting Play-Doh or something. I don't know.
Oh, I love those. Like the kinetic sand.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Kinetic sand with the whatever
else.
Love
I love playing with kinetic sand with the kids. So. It's my favorite one because it's so soft and just breaks apart.
Or that slime with like the texture in it. I know
that's
a different podcast.
The kinetic
sand. But one thing, just coming back to the whole AI thing, I think obviously our younger generation has been there since like the beginning, right? Because like I think of us, and I'm just gonna generalize us. We're all millennials.
Yeah. We're all roughly the same age.
So it's like
I think we're all within like a year
when
or
social
two,
media really became big. You know what I mean? Like the Facebook and the Instagrams, and like we were there at the beginning, so like we really absorbed in it and grew with it. Whereas when AI came in, we're like, okay, like what is this? First off, what is this? Can we trust it? Oh, it's gonna replace us, la la la. But I think once you kind of accept the fact that like let's work together with AI versus like us against them, I think that's gonna be a huge, huge benefit. But it's like, how do we approach this? I'm sure now it's being like taught in like high school. It's
the opposite. They're trying to get kids off of it now.
Oh,
because
really?
Of how much like
cheating, I guess.
Yeah,
and,
cheating
like,
and just like unoriginal ideas that are coming out and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's an echo chamber.
Yeah, it's an echo chamber, and because I have been using AI probably since like ChatGPT like 1 came out.
That was like 2 years ago.
Two and a half years ago. Yeah. And actually, someone who's been really good with like the foresight of that was Jazz. Just through our conversations, when I was working with him for him, sorry. He was really running with it, and so it has evolved a lot. But there was always that hesitation of like, where's this data going, or like, am I going to be like blackmailed in 10 years? because I got in an argument with the AI.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes when I'm like chatting with ChatGPT, I always say like, please and thank you.
I definitely do that too.
Like I say, I really appreciate you.
I say,
Just in case there's some Terminator stuff that happens down the line.
I may have yelled at it once or twice.
no, you're wrong. You're not listening.
No, so I was just like, do what I'm telling you.
Please.
No, I've actually, at one point, I remember prompting ChatGPT for some stuff, and it just started doing its own thing. And I was like, no, like listen to my prompt and don't be creative.
Yeah.
Just listen to me, please. And eventually it did, but I may have said some vulgar things at it. But
There's many times I yell at my Google, like my Google Home, and like the worst is like, turn on this light, and they're like, okay, and they turn, like you hear the sound that it's turning on, you're like, you didn't do what I asked. They're like, we can't connect to the internet. I'm like, I will tell you what you can connect to. Listen to me. And then
funny.
stop listening to me.
I actually don't have any tech stuff like that at home. I don't have a Google Home. All my lights have switches that I have to stand up and turn on. But like, as someone who's very technologically inclined, I don't know. Sometimes I just want to keep things like a little analog.
Oh no, my whole house is a smart house because it's like sometimes I'm in bed, I'm like, oh God, Google, turn off all the lights. But if there's a power surge at 3 a.m. and then the entire house is like the ugly lights,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? When the bar turns on the ugly lights, you're like,
Yeah, I have Rogers and our Wi-Fi cuts a lot, so I do appreciate the ability to turn my lights on and off on my
yes.
own.
Yeah.
Just as
I always just think of the Simpsons episodes as a trio of
oh
horror.
my goodness,
Where they do that
like
smart house?
the robot house.
Oh,
yeah.
the 2001 Odyssey version.
Yeah.
Who did the
they do
voice
Hal.
for then?
It was
Pierce
Brosnan?
Brosnan.
Yeah, yes.
I would understand why Marge allowed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about it with the smart houses, like with the lights and.
Yeah.
And that's actually a reality. Like there's a level of like I don't know if you guys ever seen the show Mr. Robot.
Yes.
And they hack into a lady's house and basically drive her insane to kick her out so that they can break in. Like these are there's vulnerabilities in all systems. So
I know.
That's why I like having a light switch that I can turn on off myself, or a door that just locks with a key.
Yeah, I don't have like the keyless entry. Like we have like the Ring doorbell. For us, it's mainly like obviously the lights. I like it because like having a young kid at home, sometimes I'm like, I have no hands. I'm like, go, help me.
Valid.
Yeah. So I like not every single thing is like AI powered, but like I would like it. And then at times I'm thinking, I'm like, I have given technology too much access to my life.
I do. I use 2 different AI platforms for my content creation every single day.
Yeah.
So I'll do long form content like this. I'll run it into video AI, which is like Opus,
Yeah.
which will then, you guys know,
Chop
it up
Yeah.
and then caption it. And then what I'll do is when I find one that I like, I'll go into the captions button and download the subtitles. I'll copy the subtitles, put it into ChatGPT. I'll say, this is what I'm speaking about. Here's what I would like the caption or the description of this video to read like.
Yeah.
And then it'll go create it for me. And then I'll download the video, copy and then I'll ask it for YouTube title ideas.
Yeah.
And
Tags, SEO.
that optimize what I want. And then that's why I don't spend more than 15 minutes.
No, and you
Then
shouldn't.
just copy, paste, download, and then go.
Yeah, and for everyone listening too, I think that's one of the best ways is like taking a transcription, whether it's using an editing software because you're at that place, or you're using a website like TurboScribe to download, whether it's like a webinar's transcript or any one of these things. You don't have to sit and scratch your head about actually trying to write these things. Leverage AI.
Yeah.
You can get down to platform specific. You can tell it how many keywords you want to have embedded, and actually stop boosting your YouTube views because now YouTube's picking up on the search engine side of things, and it's actually probably one of the easiest ways to have less excuses to do more work.
Yeah, that's why in 15 minutes. Like
100%, man.
Like it's quality for sure, but in today's day and age, when you don't remember, especially for reels, what you saw 3 reels before, it actually is quantity.
Yeah,
Consistently posting.
Probably can't remember the last time I actually read a description on an Instagram video, unless it was like read the description.
Yeah, unless it tells you to read the description.
Or it's like you're watching the video, you're like, hold on, let me get some context. And then you go into the comments and you're like, there we go.
That's not even the caption, you just go right to the comments.
Yeah, you're like, where's the paragraph guy?
I hate that I go to comments. I just do it all the time. On Reddit, I do it.
Yeah.
On Instagram, on YouTube, I go to the comments. I was like, why am I reading this? It's always hate.
Oh, hey, pro tip.
Sometimes
If ever
funny.
you're
Sometimes
Googling
funny. Sometimes
something
funny.
and you want an answer, always put in like your question and then put Reddit at the end.
Yeah.
Because then
Especially with
that
tech
way,
problems.
with tech, exactly.
Yeah.
And like I like it too because it's like, of course, you're gonna go to all your basic sites that you would always get your information, but I find at Reddit you get like such an interesting, I'm not gonna say a nice, I'm gonna say an interesting roundabout way of listening and looking
Different
at something.
perspectives.
But with
Different
Google,
perspectives.
the Google search engine, like the first 3 pages are ones who paid to be there.
Yeah.
And just matches what you're searching.
But I found with
right?
Reddit, when you put the Reddit keyword in, because it's not really in the same way, you actually get a bit better results. that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. I even found when I went to Edmonton, I found a steak restaurant because I did that. Best steak restaurant in Edmonton.
Reddit.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic steak
We're
restaurant.
showing our nerd here.
Yeah.
But
the
it's like-
tech
But
side.
I'm cool with it.
But that's the
I'm
nice
a nerd,
thing.
so-
But like even when I was like looking for like strollers for like my daughter, I'm thinking I'm like, what's a good one? And it's like, hey, like I have this kid, and this kid. These are the age groups. Like, what should I do a
Pros,
wagon? Should I
cons,
do?
everything.
And then you start reading it, and of course you go down that like Reddit rabbit hole, and you're like, oh my god, 4 hours later, you're like, but I am so educated, and now I've like gone to like 12 different threads, and it's nice because it exposes you to more.
Yeah.
So pro tip, Reddit. At the
Reddit
end
has a
there.
bad rap, but it actually comes in a lot of value
Yeah.
in certain categories. Don't
Yeah.
start digging too deep because you might,
It's still
you might
echo
find some weird
chamber.
stuff. But
It's-
when it comes to like
Now,
health
when you
and
say
tech,
echo chamber, in case someone doesn't understand the term, what does that mean?
It's you're only getting one side of the news article. In
or
Reddit.
perspective, or,
Yeah,
or
one
opinion,
perspective
or,
of it
or,
all.
like group of
Yeah.
people
Fake
talking.
news. Yeah.
Well, it's not that. It's just like you get a bias, and it seems like there's certain on every platform. There's like certain biases there, or maybe that I see.
It depends on where you're looking, what the context is, what
Yeah.
you've been searching up. Because if it's like a tech review or like how to fix a problem with like something, it's usually pretty good.
Yeah.
But when you start getting the opinions of things versus like just straight facts, it does get a little weird. and
On the main
muddled.
page, I like one that if you have a Reddit account, you get r/music.
Yeah.
Every single article is about P Diddy. You don't see any other one unless you click into music and then you go into like new or
sort or whatever.
hot for the week, whatever one you can filter it through. But
Most
if you're just
controversial, I think, is one as well.
so, but unless if you're on the main page, like literally probably like every 6 is like about P Diddy.
Yeah. Toronto real estate, like r/Toronto real
Yeah.
estate. It's pretty doom and gloom in there.
I like that one though.
There's some good information. That
There's
I've
some
learned.
really good
There is some
information. Yeah,
but it's
you
very
gotta
like
sift through it, though.
yeah, but it's very one-sided, which is like anti-real estate. Just as a
Yeah,
whole,
but I like the
pretty
metrics. I think the
much. Some of the data points that people pull and stuff.
numbers can be skewed for sure.
100%,
That's why you have to look at more than one number no matter
Yeah.
what when you're looking at different real estate markets or trends. But it's really nice to hear other people's opinions, especially like we're in the industry.
Yeah.
So it's very nice to see other people's
So instead of doom scrolling on TikTok and watching jokes videos, maybe go pop into Reddit, check out Toronto real estate, see what people are doing, get some ideas. You never know what kind of ideas you might get from there, or like
Hear the beat from the street.
yeah, it's usually pretty dark or negative, but hey, you might find something in there of value. And it's just perspective and
They show deals sometimes, like sometimes what people purchase, like
yeah,
they got
yeah.
X amount under ask. And,
Or like here's some challenges that we had in the market. Here's a story we're trying to find a
Yeah.
townhouse. We got outbid on 3 different whatever. There's
See,
some
I
actually some
really
good
like
stuff.
that because
Yeah.
it's like, and I think this will warrant its own episode with us. But I think it's like hearing like the strategies of like how to deal with, difficult buyers, how to deal with difficult sellers. Because it's like sometimes if you just, like you said, hear it from other perspectives, you're like, okay, I'm not the only one.
yeah.
So, and then it's like you're getting feedback from people on the ground with you, going through the same thing.
Yeah.
Similar to like what we do during Academy Days where we talk about our wins, we talk about our struggles, our challenges, because it's nice to hear it from someone going through the same thing.
Absolutely.
Right. Because it's like,
Absolutely.
this doesn't have to be a lonely industry. It's not. It's a people industry.
And I think there is even a Toronto Realtors like more focused Reddit page.
Subreddit,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
Okay.
We
So
can
check
we
them
can also
out.
have an episode just about hearing what the everyday, Ontario investors going through challenges wise
Absolutely.
right now.
Yeah.
Because it's something that we ask every day when I speak with people. What are some challenges you're going through?
100%.
There's some very common buckets
Mm-hmm.
that I hear.
Absolutely. And we will address all of those buckets in a future episode. So I think this might be great to wrap up our first,
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that was
talked
good.
first
about-
little round table. I think we did really well.
That was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
We talked about everything and anything.
That's how that's how I like it.
This is a podcast that I would listen to if I was like washing my dishes
Yeah.
because it feels like we're just having a
Yeah, it's like
a
hanging out,
conversation.
with some friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is actually what's happening.
Yeah.
It is.
But we get to film it.
Yeah.
So it's
I love
nice.
it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thanks
Hit
for
that
watching.
subscribe and like button.
And share it with anyone you think who might find this valuable.
Bye, guys. See you at the next one.